Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We are back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. I have an exciting guest today. Her name is Stephanie Coradin, and she is, she's going to talk to us about, I guess I would use the word, it's more of a culture program today than a typical customer service experience, but everybody needs to know it's all about the culture. Without the right culture, the experience that you hope to have happen will not take place. So we're going to talk about the gap between what leadership is doing and what eventually hits the team members. We've got a lot to talk about, but first, a couple of quick announcements. If you've got an amazing story that you want to share or a question that you want to ask, just go to any of the social media channels because I'm pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you name it, I'm there. If it is a question, use the hashtag #AskShep, and I'll answer the questions right there in that channel, or perhaps in my newsletter, on this show, or on my TV show, which is Be Amazing or Go Home. And you can find that on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Roku, and even now on a great website that links up to the YouTube episodes, which is beamazing.tv. That's beamazing.tv. Do you see? It's all about being amazing. All right, let's jump into our interview today. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Shep. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited too. So as I mentioned, Stephanie Coradin, and I emphasize the ra and Radin. As I look at this, I go, how do I pronounce Coradin? Is it Coradin? Is it Coradin? It's Coradin. And she's the founder of DEMBO, DEMBO, with 18 years of experience of working with leadership and development, developing training. So you've been in the trenches for a long time.
I have. I started in the hospitality industry as a whole, in restaurants. When I was only 16, I was a server, and I moved on to hotels, and I've been just in hospitality since then. And it's been a while.
And so this is what I love. You've got the hospitality mentality.
Oh, yes.
So many companies ask me, what is the biggest trait, if you can find one trait that would be indicative of somebody doing a great job, and whether it's customer service and support directly with the customer, but I would say it's that hospitality mentality. And I'll go a step further, that Mr. Jim Bush, who's since retired, he was the senior VP worldwide of customer service for American Express. He said if he had a choice when he was hiring people for his support center of somebody that had 10 years of customer support experience working at a company, knowing how to flip screens and talk to customers on the phone, or if he had somebody that worked in a hotel, he'd hire the person who worked in the hotel. You could train people to flip screens and answer their questions the right way, but that hospitality mentality.
Definitely. I once had a senior VP pull me aside and tell me, Stephanie, training is one thing, because you can teach people how to work a computer, how to fix beds and all that. But how do you teach somebody how to smile? How do you teach somebody how to put a smile on their face and be excited to welcome someone? So I agree. I would definitely hire somebody with that hospitality mentality.
All right. So the first question, how do you teach somebody to smile? I want your answer.
So I think it's a long process to actually teach someone how to smile. I think, and
by the way, it's a metaphorical smile. It's not
right.
Just
yes,
big,
it's a
like
metaphorical
lips
smile,
opening up, heading
right?
towards, it's metaphorical as well.
Yes, and that's what I think I go into a lot, is the mental wellness of team members, and I think that's where it starts. Teaching someone how to smile starts with having them feel comfortable in their skin, having them feel like they are in a place where they can take ownership. They'll smile.
Yeah. So, and I think, it's one thing to have confidence in yourself, but when you get to work in a new environment, it won't take much to erode that confidence if the experience internally is managed the wrong way, which let's get into really an important concept, identifying customer service skills at a leadership level. And I think I've got this comment here, identifying your own customer service skills as a leader. So I believe that means you're focusing on your internal customer.
Yes, that means you're focused on leaders inside the place need to focus on their internal customers before they even focus on the external guests. The external guests are 100% important, but the people that are going to be providing that service to those guests are also our guests. And we need to make sure that they are being served properly, even before we send them out.
Yeah.
Right?
By the way, I love your use of the word guest, which comes from your hospitality background, but there are many businesses today that are referring to what would be traditionally called a customer in a company as a guest. All you need to do, one of the great car manufacturers out there, Lexus, refers to their customers as guests. And as part of their credo, they even talk about how they look at I can't use the exact words because I don't work for Lexus and I'm going back on memory, but basically it's like treat the customer like they're a guest in your own home. And that's a pretty good place to start. But let's go to the concept of the leadership. You need to treat your employees, your internal customers, the way you want your customer, guests or members or clients, whatever you want to call them, treated, because what's happening on the inside is felt on the outside.
Exactly, definitely. And a lot of times and again, because I have a hospitality background, I tend to go back to hotels a lot. But in hotels, we tend to, if the person is an experienced team member, send them out. They know what to do, but without taking a breath and finding out what they need from us as leaders, we're sending them out and they're not being able to find out what their guests need. From them, because
you're not
they're
equipping
just modeling.
them
with the
right
they're just modeling
tools, content or information, whatever. So if that's a gap, what do you suggest that a company or leadership do to make sure that that doesn't happen?
So the first and foremost is the leader needs to understand their leadership style. They need to know how they lead so that they can address and tweak the way they're leading towards their team members. The other part of that is having, and I know we're all busy, we're all running around, but having that conversation with your team, understanding what they need from you, asking them straight up, what is it that I can do to help you move further into your career or into this position? How can I help you to the next step in your
How can I help you be more successful is what you're
in your
asking.
position? Exactly.
Yep.
And so what happens when you do that is your team member looks at you like, oh, wow, they really care about me, most of the time at least. And that opens up a door to trust. You know, they feel like they can come talk to you if their kid is sick, if they're going through something. And that's where the loyalty begins. When you get them to trust you and the loyalty is two ways, then, oh man, your customer service soars.
So two things, two questions, comments, whatever. The first is I want to go to what you just said. Getting to know and understand the why behind the behavior of an employee is really important. We had somebody here. I actually wrote a book titled Be Amazing or Go Home, based on something I told one of my employees. I said, look, do you think you're acting very amazing? She was coming in late every single day. And she said, no. I go, well, you have a choice. You need to be amazing or go home.
Or go home.
You should write that book. And it turned into a TV show too. But the point is, I didn't know why she was being late. And I said, I need to understand before we go any further, what's causing this? Because this is so not like you. I said, hey, you know, you've been late a few times, but I didn't ask why. It was just an observation. And I even said, you know, you represent me as my assistant. I think, you know, we need to set the bar based on my expectation of being on time, not what yours is. And I was real nice about it. And then after it kept going on, I said, let's talk about what's causing this. And when I understood, I totally empathized with her. As a matter of fact, I suggested at a certain point that she consider whether this was the right job for her because of things that were happening. She had to move far, far away. She was originally 2 miles from the office, 5-minute drive. All of a sudden, she's an hour plus away and she's struggling to get there earlier. and struggling when she gets home late. And by the way, she may not have left here late, but with traffic and everything, she got home and dinner was already being served, So when I understood that, I even said, here's what we'll do. You need to decide if this is right for you. I will help you find something. So why don't we do this? If you want to leave, just tell me. But if you don't want to leave, we need to fix this and we need to make it work. And she fixed it, but ultimately she wasn't happy. And I said, you find a job, I'll find somebody. Hopefully we'll meet at just the right time.
Right. Yeah.
And my goal was not to just say, let me find somebody and then you're gone. It's let me give you a chance. It worked out real well. And I know I'm playing with that. The other thing I want to talk about, and we're only going to spend a couple of minutes on this because then I want to take a break. You said something a few minutes ago. You said that leadership needs to understand how to communicate with their employees.
Yes.
Very important, right?
Yes.
But as a leader, most of them think, no, my employees need to adapt to me. Yeah. And now for those that can't see what I'm seeing, because we record this on video.
No.
Stephanie is shaking her head. No.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's not how it works because they are looking up to you and they need to be able to trust you. You need to be able to trust them too. That's very important as well. But the trust has to start with you because you are the one leading. You are the one everybody's looking up to. So you have to find ways to communicate. And that's why I started with the leadership style, because understanding how you lead makes it so much simpler for you to go through the other steps of leading a team or just one person for that matter.
Right. So we like to talk about practicing adaptability. So if I'm just going to make this up. I'm a very social person as far as my demeanor in the my business environment. If you look at a DISC profile, many of the people listening know what DISC is. D is for your dominance. If you're a leader or if you'd rather be working for someone else. Okay. I own my own company, been doing my own thing for decades now. I'm probably a fairly high D on that. D. But then there's that sociability. Am I a good salesperson or am I more introverted? I am off the charts on the S. Okay. Or the influencer. I'm on the sales side. Okay. S is and C are more about compliance and adaptability. But the point is those top two are my main traits. And I know that I have to practice adaptability when I communicate with others. But when it comes to employees, I think it's important as a team member to be able to keep everyone in mind. I mean, as a leader, to keep everyone in mind, the team, to understand how they like to be communicated with. But in a one-on-one situation, if there's a real problem between an employee and the leader has to step in, it's time for the employee to adapt to the leader style. Because now it's mano a mano, for lack of a better term. And it's a problem. It's not about me communicating, making you feel good. It's about, hey, you need to talk to me in my terms as to why I should keep you, why you should stay on.
Yes. And this is when it's already escalated. And this is when we're getting to the point where, a separation is probably going to be made, right?
Or it's potentially going to be made.
Yeah, it's potentially, you're upset, at this point, you're upset because you probably tried to tell them in their language or their communication
and it wasn't working
several times and it wasn't working. So now you need to tell me, how do I need to talk to you so that you can understand me, which yes, definitely.
Right. Okay. I get it. Okay, let's take a short break. And when we come back, I want to talk about empowerment, very important concept when it comes to creating an organization that trusts. And we'll go from there. So we will be right back. We're talking with Stephanie Coradin, and she is the founder of DEMBO, and we are taking a short break, so don't go away. Hi, Shep Hyken, your customer service and experience expert, and I'm excited to tell you about my new book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Now, this book is packed with idea after idea on how to, just as the title implies, get your customers to come back. In the book, you'll learn that repeat customers aren't always loyal customers. Now, both are great, but there's a big difference. You'll also learn about 10 reasons a customer may stop doing business with you and 3 reasons you would stop doing business with them. And one of my favorite lessons is a 6-step process for creating an I'll Be Back strategy. Of course, there's much, much more. You'll start getting more of your customers to say, I'll be back almost immediately. Just go to www.illbebackbook.com. Again, that's www.illbebackbook.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back. It's Amazing Business Radio. And we've been talking with Stephanie Coradin, and we've been talking about something really, really important, which is what's happening on the inside of the organization and the leadership style. What I want to talk about now is something that everybody says, oh, I want my people to be empowered. I don't know if empower is an overused statement, but let me get your definition of what employee empowerment is.
So I will first and foremost say, even I think it's an overused statement. But my definition of employee empowerment is really simple. It's providing your team members with the tools, the training, the opportunities that they need to do their job and do their job well. One of the examples that I always use is as a front desk agent, for example. If the front desk agent cannot credit for more than $25 in a hotel where the rooms are $500 per night, that's a problem. They are going to shrink sometimes because they're going to feel like something that they can clearly see needs a comp and they cannot provide it. They have to go wait and call somebody else. While this person might be very upset and doesn't want to wait, they have to stop what they're doing because they don't have the authority to just make a decision right then and there. So that's how I see employee empowerment.
I like that. We have an example we like to use called 1 to say yes and 2 to say no. And what we do is encourage people to figure out the way to take care of that customer and do it with the idea that there's some guidelines. Number one, it shouldn't be illegal. It shouldn't be immoral. It shouldn't negatively impact dollars and cents at the bottom line. And if you can look at those 3 statements and say, okay, why shouldn't I do this? Maybe it's because we don't want to set a precedent that this is a one-off. I get that. So you need to just clarify what it's about. But those are the reasons. And then we say to our employees, go do this and then come back and tell me what you did afterward. And if because I want to be able to learn what you did so I can share it with others. I want to tell you how it could be done differently next time, teach you that you have it. But once, if you've done it and I say it was okay, you now have permission to do it again and again and again.
Yes.
But when I say it's okay. When you do something you've not done before, and I give you the opportunity to do that, I've empowered you to do it. I want to learn. And when we can come to agreement that that was a great thing that you did, everybody needs to be taught what that great thing is.
Definitely.
Yeah. And by the way, and if there needs work on it, we do a really cool exercise called, I always say, I call it, what would Mike say? Because Mike was the first CEO of a company that we did this for. We were in front of, I'm going to guess it was 280, 300 people, all working frontline, customer support, sales, that type of thing, all inside the company. And we broke up into groups. And Mike is his name. And Mike and I came up with the most far-fetched problems that they've had over the years, the most difficult ones. And some of people who've been around might remember them. What we did is we put it up on the big screen for everybody to see what the problem was and read it. And then we said, you've got 3 minutes to work in your teams and figure out how would you handle this if you were the owner of the company. What would Mike do? What would Mike say? Okay. And then Mike and I were sitting up in front of everybody, and I facilitated going around to different tables and letting the team leader at each table share what they thought Mike would do. And then Mike got to give his 2 cents worth. And, nobody had any wrong answers. And yet some of the answers were completely different.
Of course, because we think differently. We approach things differently, depending on our backgrounds and our cultures. And then all of a sudden at the end, we're getting almost the same results. And sometimes we have to put that in play.
Yeah. So what would be your best suggestion on how to train and make people feel empowered and comfortable being empowered? Because I think the comfort level is real high. We don't want people to be afraid to try anything.
Exactly. And so we encourage people to try new things. Obviously, like you said, within boundaries, within limits, we can't just let people run crazy and, do all kinds of things if it's going to hurt the bottom line. But within boundaries, we set up boundaries. We tell them, this is how much you can go over. This is what you can do and how you can do it. But then we let them run. I always forget who said this, but it's kind of like the fail fast, fail forward type
Right.
thing, right? So you let them go and fail fast and fail forward and let them know it's okay. Like, don't, as soon as the first person makes a mistake or does something wrong that you wouldn't have to, don't, you know, go crazy on them for lack of a better word.
Yeah, just
I mean,
basically say,
yeah,
hey, I let me share with you a different approach to this. And let's
exactly.
make this a great teaching opportunity. And by the way, would you mind at our next meeting? I want to talk about how you did what you did and then the tweak we need to do to make it. And because I
Exactly.
think everybody should learn. And they all of a sudden they feel their mistake is, wow, you're gonna use this as and it's
As a
not, I'm
teachable.
not gonna
Yeah.
make you look bad. No, it's everybody needs to know this.
Yes, I once worked in a place as an employee relations manager, and when I would approach somebody about something, whatever it may be, and this was like I worked there for as a consultant for like maybe 6 months, so I didn't get to be there a lot. But in the first month that I was there, a lot of times I got the answer that, oh, they're a manager, so if I say something, then it could come back and bite me. And I had to go back to the CEO and say, this is the problem. We have a cultural problem where people are afraid to speak up because
Mm,
they're afraid they're going to get punished if they do something wrong or if they say something that may be viewed as them talking about, the manager or saying something negative about the manager. And we have to put them at ease to where, yeah, if you feel that there's something that happened that you would like to speak to an employee relations manager about, not only is it probably going to be confidential, but also it's okay. And we can explain maybe why the manager did what they did. It probably wasn't something that they did wrong. It's just that this is what they had to do and this is why they did it this way. But if we can't talk about it, then nobody knows and everybody's staying in their little corner being all upset and, fearful in some cases. So they won't try to do anything different
yep.
in that
In the
case.
military, specifically the Air Force, when the
Mhm.
planes land and everybody goes in to debrief the mission, you take off your stripes and your stars because you go in there as an equal to debrief
Oh, wow.
and
That's pretty
understand.
cool.
I know that's an oversimplification of the
Yeah.
process, but that's a real important piece of it is that you can't
Mhm.
be stymied by the rank of somebody that's normally higher than you. You need to come in
Exactly.
and say, this is what happened. And by the way, that doesn't mean you get to berate somebody
No,
because they become your equal. No, it's you talk to people as if you're an equal to them, not above or below them. And that's such a
exactly.
powerful concept.
Mhm.
I know I've shared this on the show before, but my example of the most unempowered situation I've ever seen is I was at a resort on vacation with my wife, ran into a couple the night before. We saw them one night. Next day, let's have breakfast. We get to the restaurant. All the tables are filled except for two tables, or actually there was a row of tables, but they were all for two people. And all we
Mhm.
had to do was push the two tables together to make a table of four.
4.
And we asked the person who would seat us if we could do that because she's going to seat us next to each other anyway. And she had to go ask her manager if that was okay to do.
And that's exactly what I talk about.
But it gets better than that. This story gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. Because we decided to meet the next morning for breakfast. And the exact same scenario was there. The same person who was going to seat us. And we asked, hey, like yesterday, can we push the tables together? Hold on, I have to check.
Oh my goodness.
That's exactly what I thought. Oh my goodness. And I thought, I now have the best example of
Oh
an
yes,
unempowered
definitely.
employee. And maybe it's due to the management, the culture. I'm not
Mhm.
sure what, but no doubt about it. Well, I think you've done a great job of sharing the importance of empowerment. And by the way, that
Mhm.
idea of one to say yes, two to say no is it's easy to say yes, but if you can't say yes, that's when you go back and talk to your manager. Say, I
Yes,
don't know what to do. They help
exactly.
you understand what to do, and
What
then
to
you know
do.
for the next time. It's that simple.
Definitely. There
Yep.
you go. Yep.
Yep. All right. So we're going to wrap it up with the favorite final question. And that is,
Sure.
what last nugget of information, that one final piece of insight can we learn from Stephanie Coradin?
So, as I always like to say, Shep, my mental health counseling background is always there. So, what I always say that one nugget is to make sure going into a place, either as a leader or as an employee, know yourself, know what you're looking for, be clear about who you are and how you work. And that makes a world of a difference.
Great insight. Great insight from Stephanie Coradin, the founder of DEMBO. And we can find you at
DEMBOinc.com.
DEMBOinc.com. DEMBO Inc.com. Stephanie,
And
thanks.
Yep.
What?
On
Go.
all the social medias. As
All the
Stephanie
social
Coradin.
media. Yeah.
Yep.
And you'll find Stephanie there, and you might find me right near her.
Yes.
We're all over it. We're all over it.
over.
So thanks so much for being on the show. Really
Thanks
appreciate
so much
you.
for having me, Shep. I appreciate it. And I had a good time with you.
Thank you. Me too. Hey, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We'll be back next week with another interview. So I hope you come back. And until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.